Parashat Kedoshim, the Torah says, "Lo takifu pe'at roshechem ve'lo tashchit et pe'at zekanecha." We are instructed by Hashem, do not takifu. He uses an interesting expression. He doesn't talk about the word cutting the hair or destroying the hair. It talks about hakafa, meaning you go round your head, but doesn't explain what exactly you do. You know, takifu, don't go around the hair. So surely it means it's got to do something with the hair. So you're talking about removing the hair from around the head, which we'll soon explain. Ve'lo tashchitu, when it comes to pe'at zekanecha, it says clearly, lashon hashchata, do not destroy, do not. So it seems to be, it's more fair taking away the hair in a more, let's call it, professional way. Lo tashchitu pe'at zekanecha. Lo tashchit et pe'at zekanecha. Interesting, one says lo takifu, one says lo tashchit, lashon yachid. Might make a difference in halacha. It's an important subject, really. And will we come with clear definition about what's called the corners of your hair, what's called lo takifu? Probably not. What's called tashchit pe'at zekanecha, which part of the beard is the restriction of not shaving with a razor, which we'll soon explain. I'm not sure we'll come out with clear, probably not. There won't be clear. There'll be a lot of arguments, and we will take the safe route. Right? When it says safe route, is we don't want to avoid any biblical prohibitions for sure, and definitely also included rabbinical isurim. So let's start explaining the first one. The Mishnah says, and I will bring the Rambam in a minute. The Mishnah says, "Hamekif pe'at rosho." Someone who shaves off the hair and he creates a round pe'at, mekif. We don't really care. We don't care about the back so much. We care about the front here. He makes hakafa. He goes around removing the hairs from the sides of his head. Then it says he transgresses the isur of lo takifu pe'at roshechem vehamashchit pe'at zekano. And one who shaves with a razor, with a knife on his face, he takes off removes the corners of his beard, he transgresses what the Torah says, lo tashchit et pe'at zekanecha, the Mishnah says. And then the Mishnah goes into the other isurim of soret tzita, korcha. Now, the Mishnah says further, al arosh shetayim, ahad mikan ve'ahad mikan. This must be Roshechem, milashon rabim, lo takifu, you do a full hakafa, we got a right side, we got a left side. So how many corners to the hair and the head do we have? The Mishnah says two.
Yeah.
Pe'at roshechem, but this could also be pe'at roshechem, there's also a corner. We don't. We talk about these mainly. We have to understand all of these are like Halacha Moshe Sinai. In the pasuk itself, it's very hard to see the interpretation which Chachamim are telling us now, which is obviously everything from Moshe Rabbeinu, the description. So you're not allowed to shave off here, remove the hairs at the side, which these are called the corners of the head, the corners of the hair and the head. And then it says the beard, al zakan, you've got 5. Shtay mikan, and 1 here. We're not sure, because Rashi seems to hold it's 2 and 1. So it's 2 and 1. Rambam seems to say it's 2 and 1. And where does that one start
this?
here?
What about this Ramban?
I didn't see Ramban. I don't know. Ramban says, well, here.
Yeah, no. Probably.
It could be. I'm focusing on Rambam and Rashi, but yeah. The Mishnah says, Ala zakan shetayim. Yeah? There are 5 corners in the beard. Shtayim mikan, v'shtayim mikan. Let's read Rashi, yeah? Chamesh peot yesh lo lazakן. אחד למטה מן האוזן, ממקום שלחי התחתון יוצא ומתפרד. So it's up here. ושם נקרא פאה בחודו של לחי, the corner of the לחי, שבולט לחוץ, ששם מתחיל את הזקן, there starts the beard, וכל מה שלמעלה עד הצדעה, בכלל פאת הראש, היא, ושתי השיבולות, these are שיבולת, these are שיבולות, כל אחד מהם לסוף הלחי. ונקרא פאה, ואחת מלמטה, שיער שבין השיבולת. באמצע הסנטר, שלועזים מנטים. לעז is מנטים. So already things are complicated now. But I don't want to start by the beard. Let's start with the head now, yeah? So the Mishnah says that if you remove the hairs here, then you transgress what the Torah says, lo takifu. The Rambam, it's really his style to do this, but not in his book of the Rambam, more in the Moreh Nevuchim, but here he left it for the Rambam in Halachot, to write a reason to why we are restricted from having such haircuts and removing the hairs on the side. We'll soon discuss whether it's only with a razor or whether it's even with scissors close to the skin is also forbidden. That means removing in any way.
Das ist תשחיתו.
Right. But the Rambam seems to hold not like that. Yeah? Says in the Rambam like that. En megalchim pa'ate harosh. We don't remove giluach v'gilach et se'aro. We don't remove the hairs in the corners of the head. כמו שהיו עושים עובדי עבודה זרה וכומריהם. The priests and the idol worshippers had a practice to have such a fashionable haircut, let's call it. They used to have the haircut like that. So Rambam, for some reason, gives a reason. Even though the Torah gives no reason to this, but the Rambam must have learned and understood from what the Torah talks before that and talks after that. It must be really a restricted, yeah. But it doesn't usually do it in the halachot. He usually does it in Moreh Nevuchim. Here, the Rambam chose to write an explanation to this issur. And what is the explanation is, because you're doing like the idol worshippers. The question which you'll all have probably is, we've already got a restriction on that. It says, chukotehem lo telechu. We mustn't follow non-Jewish practice, especially if they're connected to idol worshipping. If that's the way of the Avodah Zarah do something, according to everybody, there's a Yisur from Chukotehem lo telechu. And the Rambam had already very clearly written all of this. And I will bring you Halacha, which the Rambam brings a perek before. The Rambam writes, אין הולכים בחוקות הגויים, ולא מדמים, לא במלבוש, ולא בשיער, וכיוצא בהם. So he's already restricted us not to wear garments which the goyim wear, and not hairstyle, לא בשיער, וכיוצא בהם. שנאמר, ולא תלכו בחוקות הגויים, ונאמר, ולא בחוקותיהם לא תלכו, ונאמר, יש שם פנטין הקשר, הכל בעניין אחד, אלא יהיה הישראלי מובדל וידוע. Then he goes on, the Rambam, and he gives a description of all the restrictions. לא ילבש מלבוש המיוחד להם, ולא יגדל ציצית כמו ציצית ראשם. ציצית means they had the hair standing. Yeah, hair standing they had. Like the punks. ולא יגלח מן הצדדים, ולא יגלח מן הצדדים, ויניח שיער באמצע, כמו שהם עושים. So this, if you ask me, is the same restriction. That is not takifu. לא יגלח מן הצדדים, ויניח השיער. So, you can easily answer the Rambam. There are two things. There's חוקותיהם לא תלכו. There's a further restriction of removing it with a razor. That could be what the Rambam, because the Rambam holds, which we'll soon see, that the restriction of the peot here is only if you take it off with a knife, with a razor. Right? You take a sharp implement, you do it directly on the skin, according to Rambam, only then there's the issue of the peot. But that's the Rambam's opinion, and that could be how he explains why his chukotehem lo telechu is even without a razor. But if you do it with a razor, you transgress the issur of ta'ar. Okay? And it's also because of the Avodah Zarah must have done it. Sorry? Yeah. Yeah, we'll try and explain the argument between Rashi and the Rambam, where in Tosfot and the Rambam. actually it boils down to the Rosh in the Rambam. Let me be clearer. The Rosh holds not like that, but the Rambam holds like that. Big machloket, and it's a big difference in halacha. And there's a question whether, according to the Rambam, if you don't do it with a razor, is it patur and mutar, or it's only patur but still asur to do it? That's also a debate. So some people might come along and tell you, oh, the Rambam says that what? That you, so long as you don't do with a razor, you're allowed to shave it off. It's not clear at all. Yeah, we'll soon discuss all of it. It says, so the Rambam continues in Perek Yud Bet, אחד המגלח הפאות בלבד ומניח שיער כל הראש. There's a misconception that people think that if you shave off your whole head, yeah, some people skinhead because they have lost hair loss or whatever, they think there's no restriction of lo takifu. Because I'm not going around, I'm doing the whole thing, I'm taking off. Answer is, the Rambam says, אחד המגלח פאות לבד ומניח שיער כל הראש, one who shaves off here, removes completely, and he leaves the hair here. ואחד המגלח כל הראש כאחד, הואיל וגילח הפירות לוקה. He gets malkut. Even if you remove all the hairs on your head completely, but whatever, yeah, we'll soon get to the razor. But the lo takifu is not if you remove everything. Because people think, oh, only if I do it like that. If I shave all my head off, I've got no problem. Not at all, says the Rambam. Because you've anyway taken off the peot, irrelevant if you've left nothing elsewhere, it's still asur to do it. Okay? Says the Rambam.
Maybe that's a chatla. It's more than ukotev. Ukotev was they used to leave the hair on top. And this is to include everything.
Beautiful, beautiful, yeah. Yeah, that would be why the Rambam, this is a further restriction, that it's irrelevant of the style of the hair. It's about removing the peot, irrelevant how you leave anything else or not. Right? That could be a brilliant answer. It says again, במה דברים אמורים באיש המגלח, אבל האיש המתגלח אינו לוקה, אלא אם כן סייע למגלח. This is another discussion in the Gemara, which we'll soon see, that people say, oh, I'll go to the barber, I'm not doing anything. I'm sitting down at the barber and the Turkish fellow removes all my hair. I don't care. I'm not doing it. No, am I eating pork? I'm not eating pork. Someone is playing around with my hair. I'm just sitting here doing it. Says the Rambam, הוי וגילח באמת אומרים באיש המגלח. אבל האיש המתגלח, the person who's having the hair by someone else, he אינו לוקה, he doesn't get מלכות. אלא אם כן, סייע למגלח, unless he has actually helped the one who removed the hair. So now, to understand it, it's not just sitting down, it's two things. The Gemara says, this is considered a lav she'en bo ma'aseh. If you're not doing any action, then you go. Now the question is like that: when the Rambam says "eino lokeh," there can still be a biblical prohibition. Lo takifu can also mean that someone else shouldn't do a kafar for you, and that's what the Gemara says. So what the Rambam here means, "eino lokeh," it's subject to an argument to interpret the Rambam's word. "Eino lokeh" means, why does it say "eino asur"? He should have said "patur." He doesn't say the word patur, אבל האיש המתגלח אינו לוקה. All he says is, he doesn't get the lashes. Seems to be the restriction is still there. He just doesn't get the lashes. Now we have to know if the restriction is from the Torah or only the Rabbanan. If it would be the Rabbanan, the Rambam should say patur. But he doesn't say. So he says אינו לוקה. Means there might be a biblical restriction, but you don't get malkut because you haven't done an action. But it's still a biblical prohibition.
But
furthermore,
the fact that I go and I pay him,
wait. What's called siyua? The Gemara says that if you mesayah, then you get malkut, you get lashes. Now we know in the whole of the Talmud, mesayah en bo mamash. Generally, people who just help someone in Shchot Shabbat or whatever, you don't get malkut for them, they get chayimita for that, because mesayah en bo, yeah, mamash. It's not so significant just to help. Here, it seems to be, I think the Chazon Ish explained somewhere, or some other Mefarshim explained as well, that here it's different. Because the Torah says, Lo takifu b'lashon rabim, and it says, so therefore there's a smallest of action you do, that already puts you into the Malkut. And that's why the Rambam says, if you give any form of support and help to the person who's giving you a haircut, i.e., move your head here, move your head there, do that, then like that, you transgress and you get Malkut. Even Malkut. So it means there's no doubt about it. Messiah here just to help the person who's giving you a haircut is already a Malkut. It's considered a Ma'aseh. It's considered even an action. And the person will get the lashes. So it's very hard to imagine the person will go to a barber, however non-Jewish he is, at the end of the day, you sit with the thing there. The paying, I'm not so sure. That still makes it Lav Shem Bo Ma'aseh, because in the Isur itself, there's no Ma'aseh. It's just rounded, it's a, but in the hair, you move your hair like that, you move your hair like that, you move your hair like that, you move it. Any movement you do with your hair to enable, and it's inevitable you're going to do that. So therefore you get Malkut. Let alone, and even if you didn't do, there's an Isur Doraita according to most poskim. It's just you don't get the lashes. So therefore, there's no excuses of people saying, I went to the barber, did this to me, I didn't do it. You know, it's the first thing you see people with strange haircuts, they blame the barbers. What are you talking about? You thought 10 times before you went to this barber and you paid them good money. So what are you blaming the barber? The barber doesn't do it. If he do anything against your will, boy, you'll be so upset. You never go to a barber again. But you keep on going, you keep on saying the barber took it off.
But you're instructing the barber to how you want your hair.
Absolutely.
If the barber is Jewish, the barber also gets punishment for doing
Yeah,
something
Jew.
else.
Yes, there's a biblical prohibition for someone to take off someone else's peot as well. You're absolutely
From the
right.
same
If it's a
person?
Jew, that's right. Yeah. It's a question with the woman. Women are not about to keep yeah? But men, yeah, the same person. Here, it says it. אבל האיש המתגלח אינו לוקה, אם כן סייע למגבר, מגלח את הקטן לוקה. Even if you took the peot off a child, a minor, he's got no chiyuvim. You took off his peot, you're chayav. You're chayav malkut. האישה שגילחה פאת ראש האיש, if a woman removed the peot of a man, או שנתגלחה, she's פטור. אסור דרבנן, but פטור. Okay, that could be a solution, right?
Why?
Because she's not in the mitzvah. You're right, generally negative commandments, men and women are equal. But because we learn, the Mishnah says, because there's no, women don't have any beard. So therefore the restriction of Bal Takifu, Bal Tashchit, it doesn't apply to them at all, and therefore even if they do it to someone else, also patur. It's one of the few negative restrictions which women, because generally negative restriction makes sure they be time bound or not time bound. And interesting here, the Rambam goes into the whole parasha of this. He says, Kol mitzvot lo ta'aseh sheba Torah, any negative commandments which are written in the Torah, both men and women are liable. Apart from lo takif, lo tashchit, takif is that, shashchata is the beard, the war, and balitma kohen, women, female kohanim are not restricted from becoming tameh. These three negative commandments doesn't apply to women.
Why not the hair? The beard I understand, but why not the hair?
Why not the kafar face?
That's the whole package.
Because
They don't
it's
have
the
beards, but they
connection between it's in the same pasuk, you know, so it's the connection between the corners. בכל מצוות עשה שהיא מזמן לזמן ואין לה תדירה, and the Rambam goes to the positive commandments, time-bound commandments, even if the halachot are not really relevant, but because it's a strange situation, the women are not instructed on these three negative commandments, so that's why the Rambam goes into the whole mitzvot aseh, which are time-bound, in the halachot of avodah zarah at the end, in the halachot of shaving the hair. Now, let's try and understand this argument between the Rambam. The Rambam holds that the restriction of shaving the hair of the corners of the peot is only if you do it betzurat giluach. He brings the restriction. Eino hayav ad shegalchenu betar. The restriction is only when you shave off the hairs with a knife. שנאמר ולא תשחית את פאת זקניך, גילוח שיש בו השחתה. Right? So according to him, according to the Rambam, the whole restriction here is, the giluach is only if you do it with a knife. The Rosh disagrees with the Rambam, and I will read you, it's all got to do with how to understand the Mishnah in Masechet Makot.
But tashchit is destroy. You're not actually destroying the root of the hair. If you were to wax it or something, you destroy
Actually, waxing is no restriction. Yeah.
your head. It's okay.
It's funny, no? But we'll get into that, yeah? Waxing the beard, you can wax the beard. In fact, the best way to shave is with a foam.
That destroys the beard more.
Even though it destroys and it burns, and it probably it is, but as long as it's not a knife going on your skin, the beard is definitely okay. Yeah? In fact, that's they used to do. They used to shave in that way, most people.
Why do they define tashrit as shaving by a knife?
By a knife.
Destroy.
Because לא תניף עליהם ברזל, it says in the מזבח. I don't know. It says לא תשכון השחתה. That's דרך השחתה, לטעם. Yeah? So the Gemara says again, המקיף פאת ראשו. The Rambam seems to say that from the Mishnah, seems to be there's absolutely no difference, because the Mishnah says, it says again, על הראש שתיים מכאן ואחת מכאן, על הזקן שתיים מכאן ושתיים מכאן ואחת מלמטה. ואינו חייב עד שיתלונו בתער. You're only liable if you take it out with tar, with a knife. The Mishnah doesn't differentiate between beard and the hairs. They're both, unless you did it with tar, you're not chayav. So the Rambam had learned from this that the whole restriction is only if you do it with a knife. So it seems to be from the Mishnah. Not only that, the Rambam has a Tosefta in Masechet Makot, which says explicitly, like where he holds. It says in the Tosefta, by Giluach HaPeot, that it's talking about betar. It says clearly betar. So the Rambam holds that it's only if you remove here, not only the beard is going to do with tar, with a knife, even here. So if you do with scissors or clippers here, according to the Rambam, seems to be, it's not forbidden from the Torah.
Why is scissors not called a knife?
Because there's always another knife which is not letting the first knife touch your skin. You understand? So you have to be careful. If you cut this way, for instance, you cut in a way where the knife is cutting, then you're in trouble. So, but generally scissors as a protection. There is a knife which is beneath it. Yeah, even clippers. How does clippers work? There's one knife going at the bottom, one going at the top. So you've always got a knife not to allow the knife to touch your skin. Even a shaver. How does a shaver work? It's got a magen, how do you say magen? A shield. And it's got a knife in it. So therefore the shield is always separating between the knife and your skin. You shouldn't. And if it's not like that, then it's asur. Then it's ta'ar. So you have to be careful. Now, he's got a tosefta on his side as well. However, the Rosh disagrees. And the Rosh says, Ma pitom? Look at the Lashon of the Gemara when it brings the Mishnah and it brings the Braita. It says, by Pe'ah it says mashchit, and by He it says hakafa. Doesn't say like the Rabbi mentioned before. Doesn't say anything about hashchata when it talks about the head. Even the Gemara, the Talmud, doesn't bring anything about destroying like it brings by the beard. So therefore the Rosh holds that the restriction of the pe'ot is even if you don't use a knife, even if you cut with scissors. How far must cut? That's already a discussion what's considered a shaving off, yeah? Some say you should leave it at least 5 millimeters long. Some say so long as you can bend it backwards to its source. Some say even less, kol shehu, that you can pinch it. So that's the difference in the poskim. Best is always to be on the safe side. Leave 0.5 centimeter on the sides. But the diavad, a lot of poskim hold that so long as you can bend the hair back into the thing, then it's not considered that you've cut it that short, that it's kein tar. How will he sell the Tosefta? The Tosefta says clearly that the Peot HaRosh is tar. Says the Rosh, tar, misparaim kein tar. That's what he says. It's not talking about tar. He says if you cut it as short as what a knife would cut, you do it with the scissors, is also asur. That's what the Rosh holds. So there's a big machloket in halacha between the Rambam and the Rosh. Guess what? What does the Shulchan Aruch do? Shulchan Aruch, we have Shulchan Aruch here. Oh, here. Go Shulchan Aruch. I'll read you out the Shulchan Aruch. Shulchan Aruch says in Siman Kuf Pei Aleph, Eino hayab ela betar. That's the Rambam's opinion. You're only liable if you do with tar. Veyesh osrim, and some say it's asur, b'misparaim ke'em tar. Even if you use scissors, but it cutting as short as the tar would cut, you're even not allowed to do it with scissors. And that's the Rosh. And what does the Shulchan Aruch conclude? Veyesh lachush ledivrehem. And a person should be concerned about those opinions, and therefore we do not remove the hairs at the side of our peot, even with scissors. Not only with a knife, not even with scissors. It means you do it short with the clippers, is also asur to do it. Now, what exactly means hakafa? This is also a very big discussion. The Rambam strangely brings shamati mizekelim, that you have to leave, some there's a Gistan, the Rambam, 4 hairs, some say 40 hairs, and the Bet Yosef questions, what is this 40 hairs? How much is 40 hairs? It's nothing. It's not a lot. 4 hairs, bichlal. I think that's what the Yemenites get this from the Rambam. Gets this, they leave a little string here of curly hair as long as. Now, the leaving long is not brought in halacha, but if the Torah says, do not take off the peot, so therefore we leave it as long to show we're doing the mitzvah. If we want to show a distinction between us and the nations of the world, we take a mitzvah of Hashem and we publicize it. We walk around with the peot. Ben Ishai in his Pirush to Tehillim, I think, says that these are the edim, these are the witnesses. Al pi shnei edim yakum davar. That you're faithful and loyal to Hashem, or the peot which a person has. Now, so the Rambam gives a very strange, I will read you out the Rambam. The Rambam says, Upe'a zu shemanichim betzeda, yeah, it's called tzdaim. Yeah, maybe it comes from the shorish of the word tzdadim. In the sides, yeah, lo natnu b'chachamim shiur. The Chachamim never gave a shiur. What is up to the Chachamim to give shiur? So meaning today, Chachamim didn't bring forward the shiur which the Torah has given us, of how much must you leave, and where from, and how wide, and what. V'shamanu mizekenenu, very rarely does Rambam use such an expression, I heard from our elders, she'eino meniach pachot me-40 se'arot. Yeah? You have to make sure you don't leave less than 40 hairs. So there's a lot of discussion what the Rambam means, yeah? Rashi left it a much simpler way. According to Rashi, from here and to here, you don't remove, full stop. But could be what the Rambam means, there, see the width, if you go to this side, sideways, you can count 40 hairs. Maybe that's what the Rambam says. ומותר ללקוט הפות במספריים, לא נאסר ההשחתה של תער. So that's the Rambam says quite clearly that, yeah? Now, let's go back into Rashi, yeah? So Rashi, in the Shulchan Aruch, again here, will take the stringent opinion, yeah? He writes as follows. Se'ar ha'pe'ah, how much is the hairs of the pe'ah? Keneged se'ar shel padachto. What's a padachat? ועד למטה מן האוזן. כנגד פדחתו is here. כמו מצח. פה, עד למטה מן האוזן, מקום שהלחי התחתון יוצא ומתפרט. Where the bottom jaw separates from the top jaw, this sticking out bone, up to here, where the forehead is. So all this area, ומתפרט שם, וכל רוחב מקום זה, all this width, לא תיגע בו יד. Because the Shulchan Aruch was concerned for Rashi's explanation, and not only the Rambam, because the Rambam didn't have much of an interpretation what it means by 40 hairs. So therefore, nothing should be touched from here to here. Meaning touched, I mean to say nothing should be removed completely. Okay? And remind you that Shulchan Aruch said, if you choshesh, even with the scissors you shouldn't remove here. You have to be very careful. It's a fashionable haircut. Today people leave the beard, leave this, and shave this very short. It's a mash and nichshol. People don't even, right? They think, oh, they only walk around with a nisur for a day or two, or for a week or two until it grows again. Manan itself, it's a nisur doraita, hashash nisur doraita. You have to be very careful.
According to what you said, that would be 2 problems. It would be of mitpalech and also of
Yeah, Hugot Hagoy won't solve the problem, even if you leave it a little bit long. I think it's a non-Jewish fashion in practice because it's got no. So they tell you, oh, you look good, you look this. So it's got logic to it. So according to Ma'arik Kulon, maybe there's no Chukot HaGoy. That's nonsense. Because if fashion keeps on changing, it's nothing to do with looking good. Because if you look good now, you look good tomorrow, you look good in 20 years' time, you look good there. So who decides what looks good? Well, it's fashion. Fashion, pure fashion, L'chora falls under the category of Chukot HaGoy. Because it's got no logic. There's just someone controlling you and telling you, this is what we do now. This is what we do now. 2 years' time, he'll tell you, no, this is what we do now. Had it been something generally nice, it wouldn't change. Something logical, it wouldn't change. Little details would change, but not in general. So if today they decide, so now it says, so maybe you should stop growing beards now, because apparently it's fashionable to grow beards. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that's the case. Yeah? But they can't interfere like the Vilna Gaon. What we took on before and what we're doing prior to what they're doing, then they can't take it away from us. Yeah? They start wearing kippah, we'll still continue wearing kippah. Yeah? If they wear talit, we'll still continue wearing talit. We don't. If they took it from us, then most poskim hold there's no problem. So that's the restriction of the se'ar, the peot here. Okay? Now, let's go to the restriction of the beard. The beard, there seems to be a machloket between the Rambam, between Rashi, amongst the Rishonim, the Ritva has also his definitions about where exactly are the 5 corners of the beard. And because of that, the Shulchan Aruch even says, I'll read you out the Shulchan Aruch. Some say, and I read, first let's start with the Rambam. The Rambam says, 5 peot yesh bo, lechi ha'elyon ve'lechi ha'tachton miyamin. What's lechi ha'elyon ve'lechi ha'tachton? Where exactly does it start? He's not explaining to us. Lechi elyon, lechi tachton. Lechi means the jaws. So where's the elyon, where's tachton? So it's definitely somewhere around here. So that's considered a peah, which you can't do with a razor. Well, it's not a peah. The peot finish off here at the top, where it's sticking out. But the zakan, where you can't shave with a beard, according to Rashi, it goes even further down, the peot harosh. Right? Until below this bone, it's still peot harosh according to Rashi. According to Rambam, not. So Rambam holds is a peot zakan, and there's 2 here, and 1 here. Where does that 1 here start? So Rambam says, "V'lechi elyon v'lechi tachton v'shibolet hazakan." What shibolet hazakan? We're not sure. Rashi told us, in a person grow beard, they usually have 2 corners again. Karne para. Yeah, we got our horns here. So these are the 2 shibolim. But the Rambam says there's only 1 shibolet. So it's somewhere here. If you looked at the old yekkes, once upon a time, they used to shave with a razor. So they used to shave only here. They used to keep a beard here. And they used to live here and here. That was the old Yekisha way of shaving. So the Rambam says, you're hayav and get malkut on each corner which you do. So Chalila v'chal, someone shaves with a razor, it can be do 5 lavim, 5 malkuyot. To be very careful. ואם נטלם כולם כאחד, לוקח 5, even if you took it all at once, you're hayav malkut, 5 times. ואינו חייב עד שיגלחנו בתער. Now, Rashi holds that the 5 corners is 1, 2, 3, 4, and somewhere here. There's some poskim who say the 1 here even starts from down here. The halacha, the Bet Yosef seems to be holding on like that, but the Yerei Shamayim shouldn't use a razor anywhere here. I've seen people in the barber cutting with a razor here. They ask the barber, cut here. Yeah? I'll read you out the Shulchan Aruch. Says the Shulchan Aruch. Peot hazakan hem 5. 5. Where do we learn it's 5? Halacha leMoshe miSinai. That's the way Moshe Rabbeinu told us. 5. V'rabu bahem hadeot, says the Shulchan Aruch. Now Shulchan Aruch doesn't always write halachot like that. Usually he takes a stand on an opinion. Here he writes, there are 5, v'rabu bahem hadeot. There are many opinions. Lefikach, and therefore, Yerei Shamayim, a God-fearing person. And who doesn't want to be Yerei Shamayim? יצא את כולם, ולא יעביר טל על כל זקנו. He shouldn't use a razor at all in his beard. Nowhere. Because we don't know where the pe'ah starts, and we don't know which are the 5 pe'ot. Why get into this problem? Why? Why even do parts of the thing when you don't know exactly where it starts from? Then it says, ולא יעביר טל על כל זקנו כלל. Says the Rama, it brings in the name of the smag, Samef Mitzvot Gadol, afilu tachat hagaron. Because some say until the throat sticks out here. What's it called? Adam Zapper. Don't, the shibolet goes round into here. So he says, even below the throat, don't use a knife. And I've been to a barber, I used to go to a non-Jewish barber, until I read the Sefer Hasidim, says, don't take haircuts from a goy. You lose Yitzelem Elohim. So I stopped, but I used to tell the barber, the guy, if any Jew comes and tells you to do with the razor here, tell him Rabbi said not. You're not allowed to do it. Only here at the back do with the razor, but not here. And he used to tell people. But there used to be next to Mr. Baker. It's changed ownership, but 20 years ago. But you have to be careful with these things. Yeah. So therefore, the Shulchan Aruch says we don't know exactly. Rashi, Rambam, nothing. Don't use a razor at all on your face. That's it. Now, what's the definition of a razor? We need to understand, because today there are many kinds of shavers. Today they've got an electric shaver, which is not really a razor, but it's got the same shape as a razor. I don't know why. They feel it's a comfortable shape. And it's a stick, mamash, looks like a razor. But it's not. It's actually a scissors. It works with a shield, and it's got a knife, but it's very thin shield. You have to check and make sure, in every shaver which a person gets to shave with, first of all, make sure that the shield itself hasn't got any sharpness, that when you move it, the shield might cut off hairs.
If you pull the shield,
Quite rare. Huh?
you have to pull the shield to see it doesn't cut.
Yeah, you have to feel it. But recently I've noticed that this used to be a problem maybe 20, 30 years ago. But today they come from the factory so well polished that they're so smooth that they have no sharpness, the shields. But check it. Always check it before. You never know. Yeah, sometimes you come up with new ideas, something's gonna. Now, you have to make sure that nothing is cutting in the actual shield which touches your skin. Because if that's a problem of tar. Even if they call it double action, this concept of double action is nonsense. Why? Because what does double action? All it sticks, pulls up the hair, makes the hair stand. That's all the action does. But there's still a shield which doesn't allow your skin to go in between those holes and let the knife touch the skin with that. It doesn't pull your hair, but it stands your hair in a way that it gives quite a smooth cut. Okay? So those will be still defined as scissors and not tar. But you have to make sure that's the case, that it's got a soft now.
Are there some electric shavers that do cut the skin directly? Or can you say if it's electric, it's normal?
Like they used to say the Remingtons, and then the Remingtons themselves, they became like normal shavers. And also there is what they have in the shavers, sometimes they have blades like a scissors to do the side mold. They have the trimmer. And then you place the knife in such a way, the knife is cutting directly on your skin. You have to be careful with that. Yeah? You have to cut it sided. Always the movement shouldn't be done with the bottom blade, with the bottom this. But if you put it this way like that, you'll end up having the things which are cutting directly on your skin. So you have to be careful with this as well. Also, Remington used to have once in the middle of the mountains, used to have a kind of a trimmer, kind of a knife which was problematic. Nowadays I haven't seen it recently. It's usually quite smooth. It's like the Philips shaver. So again, the double actions are not such a problem. What we do is we open it up and feel the outer shield to see it's got no sharpness to it, and know this, and it wouldn't cut any hair by movement. So sometimes when you move the shaver as well, it can create a cutting. So therefore you have to just move it around on your skin to see whether it's got any sharpness. If it hasn't, then it's just acting like a shield, and it wouldn't be an issue of tar, which that's the restriction of, okay? That's according to the most opinions, according to the Shulchan Aruch. There are some achronim who want to say that even in the beard you shouldn't do misparan kentar is also you shouldn't do. So that's why they leave a little bit of the hairs. But according to halacha, there's no problem in shaving, so long as you're not shaving with a razor. Now the peot harosh, again, let's go back over it. It's nothing to do with a razor. It's even if you remove it like the Rosh says, and like the Shulchan Aruch says, yesh lachush ledivrehem, not to cut it even with a clipper,
Scissors.
even with scissors, not to cut it short. Okay? They used to shave with shaving cream. I don't know if you're familiar with it. I used to shave with shaving cream at the beginning before I bought a shaver. It was quite a funny in yeshiva. We used to shave with shaving cream. So then it's known you have to put it for a certain amount of time. So if you put it for less,
Burns you.
then it doesn't cut properly. If you put it too much, you can burn your face. So you used to get people walking on Friday evening
Red.
for the tefillah, half red and half with hairs. So they leave that. And there was a different problem. They used to supply with a
Sulfur, it's
sharp,
sulfur powder.
a sharp,
a stick.
a stick.
A
But the
stick.
stick was sometimes sharp. And even an even or even a plastic which is sharp, one should also not shave with that. So therefore you have to be careful that that's not what's doing the cutting. Even though it's the cream and the foam, but sometimes you can go so hard. So therefore we used to go and take a credit card, a telephone card we used to use, anything which is not sharp in order to remove the cream. From that, so no, the cream, there's no problem. Even though the cream, the effect of the cream is even more than a shaver, more than a razor.
Pulls out the hair.
More than a
It
razor.
pulls out the hair.
But
Opens
burns
out
the
the,
hair completely.
opens out the
Well,
pores.
isn't that designed for women though? This thing?
Sorry?
Isn't that designed for women?
It's hair removal.
Probably.
So why is it not considered?
Because the women don't do it on the face. Scissors also may be designed for women, but we use it in different places. I mean, it's not. It's where we do the cutting. It's not how we do the cutting. Yeah, maybe looking at the mirror is a bigger issue, because the Gemara Shulchan Aruch and the Gemara say you're not allowed to look in a
Are you
mirror.
pluck?
It's
Are
lo
you allowed to
yilbash.
pluck the hairs? Are you allowed to pluck the hairs?
Yeah,
That's not
you
called
can.
ashkata.
Yeah.
Why?
You're allowed to.
Yeah, why?
It's the same
Not
as
called
waxing.
ashkata.
It's the same as
Yeah.
waxing.
Why is not called
You're
ashkata?
allowed. Here you can't. Here.
I know, I'm talking about
Plucking
here.
lo yilbash.
If you've only got a few hairs, why should you shave? Why is it plucking lo yilbash? Can't understand.
Because only a
So
woman
shaving
would
should be lo
particular.
yilbash.
Only a woman would be
So
particular.
any hair removal in the face should be lo yilbash. And the
No, that
Khatam
method, I'm
Sofer,
saying that
the
method.
Khatam Sofer was asked this question, famous question about lo yilbash.
Yilbash.
His students questioned because they said many rabbis are shaved. So the Khatam Sofer says to say that there is an isur lo yilbash, we can't say, because Gdolei Olam, like the Rama Mipano, he writes, the Mesirat Yesharim also shaved. So there were big rabbis who used to remove the beards. So you're going to say they transgressed doing women's lo yilbash of lo yilbash, the restrictive lo yilbash.
We have no raya. We have no raya. They didn't leave something. We have no raya. They left a little bit.
I don't know. You have to look at their pictures.
I know people who used to say it, but they always left a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be low bash.
Then I wouldn't
So
bother
maybe
even
did that.
taking off the beard.
Maybe
It's so
the
funny.
Sharif did that. Yeah.
You look so
All
funny.
the pictures.
Anyway, so the word Gdolei Olam. So Khatam Sofer say I wouldn't say there's an Isur Lo Yilbash, although he encourages many people to have beards. That's really.
Today it's very fashionable.
I'll conclude with the Ben Ish Chai. Ben Ish Chai says, why do we remove the hairs on the head? If we think that God created us with a beard, we should leave the beard. Also, the hair we should leave long. So he says this hair grows with us in our stupid years when we were young. So therefore, we like removing it. But this hair comes only after a person matures and gets chokhmah. So therefore, this we leave because we don't want to associate ourselves with stupidity. Like people don't want to associate with monkeys. They think they come from monkeys. So therefore, the hair which grows when we are little kids and immature, we remove, we cut short. But when it comes to the beard, that comes when a person is bar mitzvah already, mitmalez kano, until 20, that's chokhmah, already this, that we leave long. So that's an interesting idea that Ben Ish Chai brings.